Welcome to the Default Profitable Podcast. Today you're going to listen to the next episode where we focus on what it takes to be a business advisor, a business owner, and a business operator. I'm your host, Matt Nettleton, and today my guest is Stan Collesano. Stan, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Matt. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Happy to do it. Hey, listen, you and I met and we probably talked for a half hour a couple weeks ago, but why don't you introduce yourself and give us a little bit about your background to the people who are listening?
Sure. Well, Stan Collesano. I'm here in Indianapolis, Indiana, actually out in Fishers. I'm a retired attorney. I practiced law for about 15 years and then moved into the business and coaching consulting world. I merged my law degree and accounting degree and have been coaching and consulting with companies for about the past 15 years.
All right. So what type of law did you practice?
Business and corporate law and a specialized insurance defense work. I was the jerk that went into court and pulled your policy and said it doesn't cover you after you paid all your premiums.
Ah, okay. So you were representing the insurers, not the people that suffered the harm.
Right.
Yes, you're the type of lawyer everyone hated.
That's true, and I've been called many names in court.
I'm sure. All right. So what made you retire from being a lawyer and go into advising businesses?
A couple reasons. Back in 2010, when I started the consulting firm, I was going through a divorce and had three young children at the time, had joint custody, and being a lawyer is not amenable to raising children on your own. As I mentioned, I merged my law degree and accounting degree, moved into the coaching and consulting, and it allowed me to stay at home and get my kids on and off the bus. And I love businesses and running businesses.
Okay. When you think back, from being an attorney, which is not directly a business degree, what did being an attorney help you learn that set you up to be successful as a business owner?
You look at the world differently as an attorney. I equate it to peeling an onion. When there's an issue in a business, most people only take off a layer or two and believe they've solved the problem. As an attorney, you learn to continually dig deeper and deeper and deeper to the heart of the issue or problem. And I think that has served me really well in consulting with owners and businesses to really get down to the root of their problems and then solve them.
All right. The flip side of that is when you think back to when you started your business, what did being an attorney not prepare you for? What were some of your blind spots that you weren't aware of when you started?
That's a great question. There are so many things I wish I knew at the time that being a lawyer did not prepare me for. But I really think it comes down to everybody around you when you start your business seems helpful and nice, and they're really not. And it's not that they're mean, and it's not that they want to see you fail, but they're so consumed in their own life, they don't have time for your passions, your dreams, or your business. So it's a really lonely journey to start out on your own and to create a business. And you just have to be prepared and have the confidence in knowing you're going to succeed.
So as you started, obviously being an attorney and an accountant, very detail oriented, did you have a business plan?
I did, yes.
How'd that work?
It worked out okay. As I started to consult and learn more, my business plan expanded and became deeper and deeper. There's so many aspects to it, looking at your market, your target market, the funds needed, your competitors, how to set yourself apart. You kind of learn that over time a little bit. You think going in that you've created this wonderful business plan until somebody looks at it and asks you 50 questions and you kind of scratch your head and go, oh, yeah, there's that stuff too.
So one of the things that's come up repeatedly is people that didn't have your background, the legal background, the accounting background, they start with a business plan and then they discover, oh my gosh, it's wrong.
Right.
Like I didn't know what I was going to sell, or I didn't know who was going to buy it, or I didn't understand pricing in the marketplace. And it sounds like you had, when I said, how did it go? You said, well, it went okay. It sounds like you didn't bat 1,000 there.
No, I didn't. I didn't, because I transitioned from a lawyer to a business owner, which is a big transition. And, as I said a little earlier, it's a lonely proposition to open up a business, and you just assume everything's going to go the way you plan it, and it doesn't. And you have to learn to prepare for the best case and worst case scenario. So when I say, yeah, it went okay, there were a lot of contingencies I should have considered at the time that I didn't.
What were some of the things that you missed out on?
I think defining my market and defining my message at the time to attract clients. You just assume I've got all this knowledge from being a lawyer, and I was actually the managing partner of my firm. So I ran the firm and I have all this wonderful knowledge, but it's not resonating. And it's a matter of, I just assume people were going to say, oh, well, you're great. Let me hire you. But
They didn't?
no, they didn't. They didn't. I learned over time
Oh,
that
those rotten jerks.
that's right. Now they were jerks instead of me.
That's right.
Um, Finding people's pain points, and really getting to understand what someone's goal is and then help them achieve it. And that's really what I was missing early on.
When you look back to how you defined your market, did you define it too broadly or too narrowly?
Too broadly. Too
Tell me
broadly.
a little bit about that.
I still believe this today. I believe that every business should have a consultant. I'll throw some statistics out there for you. In 2023, 5.5 million businesses were created, the most ever in a year. 20% don't make it to 12 months, 50% don't make it 5 years, and 80% don't make it past 20 years. So I had this broad scope of, well, everybody should use me and needs me. The reality is, we're dealing with some highly effective people who believe they know what they're doing. And when you go in and say, well, everybody should use me, it's your message isn't clear to them and they don't understand it. So I think had I narrowly focused at companies that were trying to scale, maybe struggling a little bit, and really felt the pain of not being able to do it themselves and needing help, would have been beneficial for me. And of course, trying to find that particular market is difficult, but I think that would have been more beneficial for me.
Yeah, being able to describe what you're looking for is actually, it seems so simple, and yet it is so difficult.
Right.
So as you go along, I mean, 2010 is a while ago. Probably don't have to get your kids off the bus anymore.
I
They're
don't.
probably a little bit older.
They're going to get me off the bus soon.
Yes, I know the feeling. What are some of the other things that you learned over time?
A good question. Haven't really thought about that, other than people like to build things and be helpful, and they want to be relevant. And my approach with companies and CEOs is, let's make you relevant. Relevant. Nobody wants to be told that they're irrelevant, but in today's world, business moves so fast with converging technologies and industries. It's difficult to stay relevant to your consumer. So I think helping them understand their product or service and making it relevant, valuable, and vital to the consumer is very important.
Now, this is, we're on episode, I think, 85 or 86 here. And I've found that people fall into two groups. And I suspect I know which group you're in, but most people, when they start a business, they either have a great passion and interest for what they're doing, or they look around and they see an economic opportunity and they think they can make money and it's interesting enough, they'll do it. Which of the two ends of the spectrum did you find yourself on?
Kind of in the middle. Um, I really, at the time, felt that there was a need for what I was doing because I had, being in the business corporate world, had come across so many clients, helped them start up, and they ultimately failed. So I felt that there was a need for someone to go in and consult to help them get long term and sustainable. And along those same lines, because the odds are stacked against you, I thought in my own little small world, if I can just help some of them buck that trend and be sustainable and not fail, there was a lot of passion and desire in that as well.
Now, I'm gonna. This is a question I don't often get to ask, but I'm gonna throw it out there. As an attorney, you basically billed hourly. You were still billing hourly at that point,
As an attorney, yes.
and when you got out, obviously you can't necessarily just straight bill hourly as a consultant. It's typically project work.
Yes. So, knowing the value of your worth, knowing what to charge is a very difficult thing to decipher. So yes, it was project work, monthly retainer. There was also times that I would ask if they couldn't afford the monthly retainer or afford the project work. I would do it based on if I can create revenue for you, I'll take a percent or I'll take a percent of the company. So I would try to be flexible and creative in how I would charge customers.
So when you think back, the first couple years in business, how how good were you at valuing your time and expertise?
I was awful at it. I was, you sit back and you think to yourself, okay, I have three kids, I have a mortgage, I have car payments, and I need to make money. And, I'll cut it I'll slash my price just to get in and get that check coming in. So that was, a failure on my part. Over time, I've adjusted it and feel that I'm better at it.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that when people switch from and as a lawyer, it's not that your price was fixed, but it was supported by the rest of your law firm. Like it kind of
Right.
fit into what everybody was doing.
Right.
And then you get out on your own and you got to figure out, hey, I'm selling knowledge, I'm selling time. How do I even price this?
Exactly.
And there's
Exactly.
nobody else around you that you get to copy from.
No, no, it's a difficult proposition, and again, you have that battle in your mind of how much am I really worth? How much time and energy have I spent in obtaining this knowledge compared to, okay, the bills are coming at the end of the month and I need to, make sure I can pay them.
Yeah, I got to hit this number. What is there anything that you wish you knew when you started in 2010?
The value of my time. Can I just say ditto?
Ditto. Can we just talk about that again?
Right,
Yeah.
right. Knowing the value of my time, and I think for especially in service businesses, and I think I fell into this trap early. As I had mentioned, I was willing to sell myself for less or to do things that I wasn't 100% comfortable with just to make money. And looking back on it now, I would advise anyone, and I'd advise my younger self, don't take anything unless you're truly passionate and really want to do it. Otherwise, it becomes a nightmare and a struggle.
All right. When people come to you and they say, "Hey, listen, I'm thinking about leaving the corporate world. I'm thinking about leaving my, biweekly paycheck and start my own business." How do you describe that to them? What advice do you give people?
The first thing I tell them, well, a couple things. I ask them, what is your goal? And I don't really care what it is. If it's to retire earlier, if it's to buy a boat, put kids through college, tell me what your goal is. And then if you're going to leave a steady income, make sure you can support yourself at home without your income. Because it can be a struggle. There can be a long time for you to become profitable. There's stress at your business failing and not making money. It's worse when you're stressed at home trying to pay your bills. So I would tell them really sit down and think about that. And if you have a significant other, talk through that to make sure you can meet those obligations at home. And then when you start on your business, research, research, and research. Know your product or service, know your market, know your competitors, know the best case, worst case, all of that.
Okay. And then you kind of said it, but I'm gonna call it out fully here. If 2024 Stan could go back and sit down next to 2010 Stan the night before you started your company and just say, listen, man, here's the first thing you should focus on. What is the first thing 2010 Stan should have focused on?
The marketing of me, learning how to market me in a way that is attractive to companies who can use my service. They don't teach marketing in law school. We took a couple small classes of marketing when I was getting my accounting degree, but in the world that we live in, you have to market yourself, and that's what I would tell my 2010 me: market yourself better.
So if I was trying to describe what marketing is to somebody, so obviously the focus is aspiring or new business owners. If I was going to tell them, here's what marketing means, what would that be? Here's tactically what this means.
I'm going to try to answer that question this way. The way our brain works is people do not move unless the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change. And to get somebody to change, you have to show them their pain. And that's what marketing is about. It's showing people their pain and then how you can solve it. So, Matt, you have an issue. I know you have this issue. I know it's painful. Staying the same is worse. And now I'm going to solve it for you. And to me, that's what marketing is.
Yeah, so it's interesting. There's a Robert Cialdini wrote a book on the psychology of influence and persuasion, and he calls it loss aversion, not pain, and talks about the most powerful thing that you can do to gain compliance from somebody, not to get them to think different, but to get them to act different, is to help them understand the pain of remaining the same by using third party stories.
Right.
So it's not, hey, Stan, I know you've got a problem. It's, hey, Stan, when I talk to people like you, they tell me they've got this problem. I don't know if that's true with you.
And 9 times out of 10, they say, yeah, I have that problem. And I've been
Yeah.
dealing with it for a long time.
And then you can have a conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And so the definition when I was with Coke and since then that I've learned from marketing is something that causes the person that sees it to ask a question the salesperson wants to talk about.
That's right. What's going to
So
get them to move? Yeah. Our brain uh, is old. We work with 1,000-year-old brain. And, as we're sitting here talking, or as you're watching TV, a baseball game, and the ball, flies off the bat and goes towards the camera, we all jump in our chair. Well, we know the ball's not going to hit us. It's on TV. But
right.
yet that's the same part of the brain where we make multi-million-dollar decisions. And it's all
Yeah.
based on that pain of, do I really want to get up from this couch? Or
Yeah.
is it just not as, just very comfortable to be here?
Yeah. All right. Any closing thoughts? Anything that you'd like to leave for somebody who's an aspiring or new business owner?
Sure. It's all about margins. It's all about the value you can create for your product or service. And as I mentioned, things move so fast today. There's so many ideas and so many new businesses coming out that if you have an idea or a business, really research it. Take the time to test it, research it, and put that plan together. And then at the end of the day, jump and take the chance.
Yeah. Once you go, you got to get going fast. You cannot dawdle.
That's right. And you're going to fall, you're going to fail, you'll
Oh
get
yeah.
bumps and bruises along the way, but if you stick with it, you'll be successful.
Yeah, and something that you talked about and I think is important is the basic plan that you start with. The plan's not the value; it's the process of planning.
That's right.
because you don't know enough to be accurate in your plan.
Right.
But if you start to think about the planning and all the different things that go into success, you'll be okay. And that's, as an accountant and as an attorney, your attention to detail and your attention to levels of a problem is super valuable.
Yeah, it's never just on the surface, it's always deeper. So continue to dig deep and find that solution. There's a need for something out there, right? Somebody created the sticky note, and
Yes.
they're sitting on a beach somewhere, and we are not. But it was a
Yes.
simple idea, tested, and they researched it, and there you have it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a good place to kind of wrap up. That's a quick 20 minutes. So, hey, before we wrap up, I want to remind everyone you can find more information about Stan business and some of the books he recommends and a little bit more about them over at the show notes at defaultprofitable.com. If you're listening, there are 3 ways you can help the podcast grow. You can subscribe wherever you listen. You can leave a review wherever you listen. And if you hear something interesting in one of these episodes, well, you can share it with somebody who you think ought to hear the same thing. So, Stan, thanks for being a guest.
Thank you, Matt. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. And for our listeners, we'll be back next week with another episode. Until then, stay focused, keep working, stay profitable.